said, I'm no professional. It's an iPhone and an iRig mic and a whole bunch of coffee.
Okay.
That's the secret to my success in this show. So anyway, welcome to Espresso Shots. My name is John, filming from beautiful downtown Westport this morning, and I'm here with Betty Jo Greenway McDougall. Is that right?
That is correct. Greenaway, actually.
Greenaway.
Greenaway, that's right.
So yeah, I always know you as Betty Jo. I just always refer to you as Betty Jo. So can I call you just Betty Jo?
You may call me Betty Jo. I'm also known to my friends as BJ, but that has recently become a little bit more colorful than I have been. So.
Well, duly noted. I won't call you BJ. Betty Jo. So I know you're involved in Westport and Blooms.
That's true.
And I know you have a passion for birds and nature. I don't know much about you because you keep your settings pretty private on Facebook, so I can't stalk you or look at get too deep. But I just know you through town, and I know you've been around and you do a lot of things, and so I wanted to get to know you a little bit better. So I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Oh, go for it.
What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's got to be something about living in the now. I can't think of something with quotation marks.
Living in the now, yeah.
Absolutely.
So do you believe that kind of this is what it is? It's not what you did yesterday. What you're going to do tomorrow?
But we're starting afresh every single day and every single minute.
Yeah, and, it is like a new life. Every time you wake up and you get up, it's kind of a new day, and you could change any chapter you want if you choose to.
If you choose to, that's right.
Yeah.
And also, you just need to realize what is good about right now and be very, very, very grateful for all the good stuff in our life. And Westport is one of the really, really good things in all of our lives.
Yeah, it's a great place to live. I agree. I'll try to stump you again. Do you have a favorite movie that you really like?
Oh, I'm not a real movie watcher. It's a joke at our house. My husband's favorite movie is Singing in the Rain, and whenever at Christmas time he says, "Oh, this is a wonderful Christmas movie," and at Easter, "This is a wonderful Easter movie," and when the kids have a birthday, "This is a birthday movie," and so the entire family watches Singing in the Rain all the time.
So Singing in the Rain is Dick Van Dyke? Is that or no?
No, it's Gene Kelly and Debbie Reynolds.
Okay, what am I thinking of when Dick Van Dyke's got the umbrella? And that's a different song, a different movie.
That's right. Is that
Mary Poppins?
Mary Poppins.
I'm thinking of Mary Poppins.
That's the one. That's after my time, John.
Is it okay? I've seen that one a few times, and I always like Dick Van Dyke. Yeah. Okay, so do you have a favorite tree?
A favorite tree. I love every tree.
You love every tree?
I'm the original tree hugger. Although you say you think of me as a person who loves the great outdoors. I came to that late in life. That's because through my husband, Duncan, who is the Westport boy. I feel like I'm here under false pretenses because I'm just Westporter by marriage.
Here under house arrest.
Yeah, no. No, I'm never going to leave this place. I love it so much. But I had to marry Duncan because I had to be a Westporter. So, I had no choice about it. But he's the original outdoor guy. And so he has introduced me to all that stuff.
Okay, so let me paddle backwards then, because I'm just making some assumptions here. So tell me about yourself. What was the pivotal moment in your life where you said, okay, I'm going to live in Westport and this is what I'm going to do?
Well, as I say, I was Duncan and I were both teenagers. I guess I just turned 18, and we were at Queens. It was my first year. I met him. I hadn't been at Queens 24 hours when I met him, and that's a funny story too. But that's not really Westport, so I won't go into it. But anyway, he swept me off my feet with his Tales of Westport, and it just sounded like the most idyllic Norman Rockwell kind of a place.
Picture scene, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely jaw-droppingly beautiful. The first time he brought me up here, and it's what Ken Rose was saying last week, any direction that you come into town, it's just, came into Westport. I could not believe how beautiful it was. He had sort of won my heart by telling me all these wonderful stories about people in Westport. And so I had all of these pictures in my head of these very colorful characters, and they all had wonderful nicknames. Have you encountered all the nicknames?
I'm pretty new to the area, really. I've only been around for 14 years,
Okay, well, I mean, I just got thinking about that this morning, and, well, there was Fetch, of course, just almost
Fetch
next door
Murphy,
here.
yeah.
Fetch, and my husband was Spider, and his best friend was Speed, and Speed's brothers were Red and Cackle. I loved Cackle. And then there was Big Scratch and Little Itch and Twitchy and Wishy and Tojo and Joker and Cork and Mink and Duck and Turk and Puke Face. That's a good one. And my husband said he was actually quite good looking. He had no idea where that name came from.
Oh, that's your husband's nickname?
No. That was a fellow he knew.
Okay.
And then Pooh. Pooh is one of my all-time favorite people. I mean, everybody in Westport had these wonderful names. I just had to see them. And then to have the town itself so beautiful was just icing on the cake.
Well, and to be able to hang a nickname on somebody, you have to know them at a pretty good level, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, you can tell that socially there was a lot.
Oh, it was very, very cohesive.
But I have a question about Fetch Murphy, because I noticed a few weeks ago that the Martin House is gone from the spring, Fetch Murphy's birdhouse. What happened to that?
Well, apparently the Martins are being decimated by climate change and loss of habitat, and so they have not come back for a couple of years.
So it's just been vacant?
It's been vacant, and so I believe it was Dan Grunig took it down. He was the one who donated it in the first place to replace the one that Earl Grace had made for us originally. So last year we heard that there were a few purple martins in the area, so I'm hoping that maybe they will come back.
I did an episode called What Westport Has, I think I called it. And one of the things in the episode was the was it called Grace?
Chateau Amazing Grace.
Chateau Amazing Grace.
That's right.
So it's like I filmed this, that's cool. And it wasn't there, so it's gone. And the other thing that's missing from the spring is they had a homemade plaque that said "Boo," and it's gone.
Oh, yeah. I think somebody, when they put in the sidewalk or something, somebody did that.
I remember, but it's no longer there.
Is that right?
It's gone.
Oh my goodness!
So they must have done some work down there. So the Boo is gone. I always remember coming out the bridge and seeing the Boo.
And it was good when you guys had the pumpkins. It was perfect.
And I noticed that when the first year we did it years back, I remember that Boo. I was like, wow, how fitting to have it down at the spring.
That's right. No.
And
Well,
now it's gone.
Maybe someday, that's something Westport and Bloom really would like to do is really beautify that area down there and make it a real sort of a jewel of an entry to the village, and maybe we can put the Boo back.
Put the Boo back. Put the Boo back in Westport.
Put the Boo back in Westport.
Well, it's funny because you see these little things that change, and you don't pay much mind to it. Like, so the sign is gone, or the birdhouse is gone, or there's a new tree in the, or there's a stop sign.
Oh, that was a big deal. Wasn't it?
It was a big.
That was the most exciting thing that happened.
But it's those little changes, but yet. Everyone says, well, Westport never changes, but there are these little subtle changes all the time.
Yeah, that's it. Well, that was another one of the stories my husband told me when he said Westport. Oh, there's about 600 people. There were about 600 people when my mom was growing up here, and there were about 600 people.
I think 600 people initially moved here.
I think so. Well, my Duncan says it's because every time some girl gets pregnant, some guy leaves town. So it was meant to be. But whatever it is, it's just the perfect size.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you walk down the street and you feel like if you know everybody, or if you don't know them, you know their brother-in-law or their next-door neighbor, and it's such a good feeling. I mean, you're encouraged to make eye contact with everybody or to stop and talk on the sidewalk or in the middle of the street. That's okay in Westport. And I don't know, you feel invested in the town. I think it's the size of a community that human beings were meant to live in. It's just,
yeah, no, it is pretty awesome when you look at it that way. And I want to give you a big hand for the work that you guys do with Blooms. Is it Westport in Blooms, or is it just Westport Blooms?
Well, it's Westport in Bloom. What happened was back in when Westport Centennial was coming up in 2004, the town council thought it would be nice if we competed in Communities in Bloom, which is competitions all through the province and I guess all across Canada for making the town beautiful. And so they just got a couple of people who had nothing better to do, and we competed for a couple of years, but we really the competition part of it did not appeal to us.
Right, it wasn't what was pushing it.
Yeah, but what we couldn't believe how good it felt just to, to add some flowers here, to clean up some cigarette butts on the street here, and plant a tree there. And we just liked that so much that we kept on doing it on a non-competitive level. And so we had been Westport in Bloom because we were competing in Westport in Bloom.
There's a big difference when somebody says you have to do something versus you want to do something.
Yeah.
So if you have to compete against another town and you have to try to
Yeah.
win, maybe
Yeah.
it takes some of the fun away.
Yeah.
But the real love is you want to make the village look nice, and
Exactly.
you want to, where you live, you want it
Yeah.
to be nice.
That's right, and that's another thing about a town this size is you get immediate reinforcement, good or bad. If you do
That
something
is
good,
true.
if you do something good, you see the results immediately, and you see them every day. And if you fail to do it, you see what's missing every single day. So again, I say this is the way people were meant to live, John.
Yeah, and it's not a judgmental comment. It's just the way it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I love it. I love trees. I love birds. I love nature. I love getting out.
Well, you've been a good supporter too. You bought all those oak trees for Lockwood Park.
Oak trees, yes, and I
yeah.
have some of the apple trees, the tall apple trees. I think they're called rinky,
Oh yeah, the tall skinny
and
ones,
those
yeah,
are awesome. I have 3 of them in my yard, and then I have some of the oaks, the tall, slender oaks. I think they're called Prince Prince Alberts or
Prince something. Well, some kind of prince.
yeah, and so they've done well. Unfortunately, I planted one of them underneath a big maple, and it just kind of got dominated and ended up dying on me. But yeah, there are still some in the park, and
That's great. And anybody who loves trees is a friend of mine.
yeah, and I talked to Jackie a bit about this. There's a new act coming in. It's called I think it's called a Canopy Act. It's nothing to do with marijuana, but having enough coverage in a village or a community to protect, obviously from urban.
Yeah, well, I mean, trees do so much good for, not just for the climate and for the immediate environment.
Because when you talk about the purple martins kind of not being here and struggling, there's a lot of animals that are like that. But this year, I found the squirrels were everywhere.
Oh yeah,
they were crazy. Like they were. My dog was chasing them up and down the fence. They were taunting my dog.
Oh yeah.
But it's funny when you get up early in the morning. I like getting up early at 6 and having Cynthia comes into work, bake. I'll sit outside and have my coffee and just kind of listen to my flow water from Bruce County.
That's right. And John tells me that it has candy-based or sugar-based
not
lid, so I'm planning to eat this afterwards.
It's not candy.
But there's nothing plastic.
There's no plastics in the packaging at all.
I felt really bad not having coffee because I know John makes really good coffee, but if I start drinking coffee, I get all hopped up. I'm going to be up on the table dancing and maybe taking my clothes off. We don't want to go there.
Well, this would be a good episode, right? If anybody wants to see that, email in. We'll try to get that for the next show coming up.
Coffee.
But yeah, so how long have you actually lived in Westport for? Because it's quite a while when you're talking about Fetch Murphy and.
Oh yeah, well, as I say, I'm a newbie. I'm a come from away. But I've been hanging around the outskirts of Westport for almost 60 years now. But Duncan's family has been here since basically the earth cooled. His mom's family, anyway, his dad's family is from Bruce County. But so we met in 1960, and so I've been coming up here ever since. And then we built a cottage on Wolf Lake very early in our marriage, and I spent every summer there with my kids. It was it's just absolutely beautiful. But there were no neighbors for about 5 miles in each direction. We had no road, no electricity, no water, no plumbing, no phone. It was just me and the kids. And my husband was basically back in Hamilton. He was a prof at McMaster for most of the summer. So we were there in the wilderness. And I thought of myself as being in Westport, but I really didn't know anybody in Westport. But then we always knew that we would retire here. And so we retired in 2000. And so we came about the same time probably as you. But as I say, I felt, I loved the area and I felt that I was connected to it, but I didn't think that anybody in town knew me. And I remember we moved here on a Tuesday, and on Wednesday I walked down to Fetch's barber shop to get a newspaper, as you do in Westport. You go to the barber shop to get a newspaper, and it it had been a barbershop years before, but it wasn't by then. He was selling bait and fishing licenses, but everybody said you go to the barbershop, you know.
Well, back then you had to have a Sears outlet, you had to sell bait, you had to sell cigarettes, maybe, whatever you had to do.
So I went to the barbershop for a newspaper, went in and picked up a Globe and Mail, and so I'd been a resident of Westport officially for about 12 hours, and not one, not two, but three people called out in unison, "Don't buy that. Duncan's already gotten one." I said, "Man, I know I'm home. This is where I'm meant to be."
Yeah, if you don't, somebody knows your business.
Everybody. A friend of mine once said, "Oh, I couldn't live in a small town because everybody knows your business." But I think it's really neat because I get to know theirs too.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a fair exchange.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wants a little bit of privacy and whatnot, and you get that. But the social side of it is, you can be as social as you like. I mean, you don't, I guess, have to go out and be involved in all kinds of organizations, but a walk to the post office is typically an hour walk to the post office, right?
Exactly. I mean, everything, that's another good thing about Westport is you've got virtually every kind of shop and service, and 95% of them are on this one block, but it will take you 2 or 3 hours to get around the block.
It will. If you're going to just go drop off some mail, head over to Kadrinkles and pick up some meat for supper.
Leave some time.
You're looking for me, and I'm just on Spring Street over here, so it's a half an hour at least, 45-minute walk.
That's right. I love it.
So what would you say is the biggest change that you've seen to the village of Westport over your time being here, whether it be a full-time resident or part-time resident? But what do you see as the biggest change to the village? Or is there one?
I guess I was more aware of the long-time Westport residents, the people, you know, that Duncan had grown up with, and his mom was a high school teacher here, so she, you know, everybody knew her, and so those were the people that I knew at first. And now there seem to be a lot of people who've discovered what a gem it is and are moving in.
So is that a good thing or a bad thing? People discovering Westport.
Well, I mean, as long as it never gets over 600 people, you know, we have to keep the perfect.
Well, I think they should maybe have a bylaw. Maybe we should talk to council about this, the new councils.
Okay.
Let's get a bylaw to limit the amount of residents that can live here to 6. Maybe we could grow it to 650.
Oh well,
you know, and nobody
don't push it.
And maybe another stop sign.
But they're all. I mean, I don't know whether I can handle.
Or as I like to call them, stoptional signs.
My 2 daughters, actually, you know, did advanced degrees in that sort of thing. My oldest daughter is now a prof working on birds at Western, and so they know everything. So I don't have to know that stuff. I just say, "What is that?" But I mean, they can tell, like, not only the birds apart by their song, but individual birds.
Really?
So.
Well, I've got a bird story to share with you.
Good. Okay.
So this is about a guy that I knew. His son had bought this exotic bird for his father and sent it to him for Christmas. Well, this bird could actually speak 7 different languages. It was like a variety of parrot, and it knew 7 different languages. And he had taught this bird all kinds of languages before, not the languages, but words before I sent him to his father. And so his father got the bird around Christmas time, and the son didn't want to call him. He thought let him get used to the bird and whatnot. So just after New Year's Eve, he calls his dad up and says, "Well, how did you like the bird? Like, are you enjoying him?" He goes, "Well, what do you mean?" He goes, "Well, the bird I sent you, do you like him?" "Oh, we loved him. It was great. We cleaned him up and we cooked him for Christmas." He goes, "What do you mean you cooked him for Christmas? Like, that bird knew 7 different languages. That was an expensive bird, Dad." He goes, "It knew 7 different languages." And his father says, "Well, it should have said something."
There you go. We are responsible for what happens.
We are responsible for what happens. So what else do you have to say, Betty Jo? Are you a music fan at all? Do you like music?
Oh, I love music, and I love dancing. My husband's been sick the last couple of years, so we used to go out always to the Cove and party and dance there. But actually, that reminds me, every time we went to the Cove, and everybody in Westport, you might notice, is a wonderful dancer. People who grew up in Westport are wonderful dancers. They're wonderful skaters. Because that's what they did all the time.
And there seems to be a dance at the Cove that everybody does. It's kind of like I've been there a few times. And they like everybody just, oh, that looks good. I'll just do that little move, and it's like you see, and then they speed it up, and then they slow it down.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
actually call that move the cove.
Oh, okay.
And
Okay.
sometimes when I'm
the Westport Shuffle.
sometimes when I'm out of town, I'll use the cove like at a different place, right?
Oh, well, if you ever see somebody who's a really good jitterbugger, they're somebody who grew up in Westport.
Yeah.
But that does remind me of a story. When I first met Duncan at Queen's, and I don't know. I met him on the street one day, and he was just coming out of class, and I asked him what he'd been doing. He said, "Oh, I was at an anatomy class. It was really interesting today. We were learning about supernumerary mammaries."
It's a mouthful.
Man, yeah. Well, I mean, he knew. Like I was putty in his hands as soon as he started using big words. I really liked that. So I said, "Oh, tell me all about it. What on earth is that?" He said, "Well, some people have extra breasts." I said, "No, stop it." I mean, I'm 18 and I've led a very sheltered life, but I'm sure that's not true. And he said, "Oh, no, it is true." And so we were learning all about it today and how it happens. And he said, "As a matter of fact, I know a girl in Westport like that." I said, "Whoa, I really have to get to Westport." You know? He said, "Yeah, she has a breast in the middle of her back."
A breast in the middle of her back.
That's what he told me. And I said, I was young and innocent. And I said, that's terrible. Oh, that's awful. Imagine how uncomfortable that would be, the clasp of your bra, you know. And and he said, well, it wasn't so bad. I mean, she was really popular. All the guys loved to dance with her. So anyway, ever since I came to Westport, I've been watching whenever we go dancing someplace. I'm looking for this girl that everybody wants to dance with.
Girl with the
She's
boob
my
on her.
demographic, so she's not. She's a mature girl now. But anyway, she's out there someplace.
Oh, is she? Well, there you go. You've heard the Cinderella story.
That's
Well,
right.
this is like the Cinderella story. You have
That's right. So I want you all to keep an eye out for me.
seek
Let me know.
seek her. Seek her. Well, listen, Betty Jo, I appreciate you coming in. I've got to help my wife put up Christmas lights today.
I saw lights going up.
And I told her I'd be there by noon, and I'm
Okay,
still
you've
not
got a
there. But we
minute.
have a beautiful shop and hop on the 23rd of November, and with a market just by
Just
the
across the
just
street,
across the street from us.
uh-huh.
I went last year. I actually partaked in it, and I went on the horse-drawn
Yeah,
buggy,
me too.
and me and Harrison hung out, and it was a pretty awesome time. So I would highly recommend, if you guys haven't been, come down. And there's even a place to drop off your kids this year. The school is putting together a little daycare, so you can dump the kids off there. You can dump your husband off at the brewery over there, and you
you
can
go.
go have some fun and shop.
The perfect evening.
You know, it's
that sounds like a great idea.
the perfect
Yeah.
storm.
Yeah, I know the
Adults,
shop and hop is
kids.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there'll be the tree lighting that night at the
Yes.
town hall, and carol singers wandering around, no doubt. We usually do. And so it's a good night. Yeah.
It's a good old-time feeling.
It is. Everything about Westport is a good old time feeling.
It's
Yeah.
good. Well, I appreciate you coming in, Betty
Oh,
Jo.
it's a
This
pleasure
was
to talk to you,
great
John.
chatting with you,
Yeah.
getting to know you a
Oh.
little bit better. And again, keep up the good work with Blooms, and
thank you.
and keep up the positive attitude about the village. It's awesome. It's inspiring to me, and it's inspiring to my wife, and it's inspiring to my kids.
Oh well, you guys are a good addition to the village, and I love the whole concept of life is good. You know, that's Westport.
Nice.
That's so good.
We'll leave it right there.
Okay.